Hey friends. Um, so I am vaguely still processing what I spoke about yesterday on my post, which if you didn't see it, quick recap was that I spoke to a friend about a very powerful spiritual experience that they had told me about it, and um, sort of launched us into a conversation about a number of things, but particularly the kind of nature of enlightenment and what that looks and feels like. And the upshot of my experience yesterday, was it sort of blew my hair back a little bit, and I was a bit confused by the experience. I was a bit shaken and a bit, well, I would just say it reflected something back to me. It reflected, the conversation reflected something to me about my own nature and my own deep desire to move powerfully in the direction of, for lack of a better word, spiritual evolution. And I spoke yesterday a little bit about some of the sadness that came up in me, and a bit of the there was just a kind of sadness in me. And I think what was happening, I mean, I think what I was experiencing was the observation of being removed from that connection in myself that I know I have, that I know is so powerful and so deep, that was hard to see. It was hard to take. And I was still sitting with that today as I went through my day. But I found, oddly, that I moved into a sense of empowerment, a sense of connection, and a sense that of a kind of autonomy or a personal responsibility. It was like I got to feel myself where I am and be good with that. And I got to be enough. There's a one of the most pernicious feelings that undermines us is this erroneous sense that we are somehow not enough. It's like the alpha and omega of all psychological strife, thinking that we are somehow not enough. And somehow this experience of hearing someone else talk so deeply about their powerful spiritual liberation, it was almost like it, there's a part of me, obviously not all of me, not all of my conscious self, but a part of me, part of my ego, took that as a diminishing of me. It was like, I don't feel that level of connectedness, so I'm doing spirituality wrong. I'm doing my practice wrong. And then I started focusing on the struggles, the challenges that I face in my life, the things that are difficult for me, the things that I feel like are indicative of failure. And I'm talking about this now because I really want to name and sort of map out what my mind did in that moment, and what it had, because it's not the first time that's happened, but where it went, and kind of what the connections were that got me from one step to the next step to the next step, because it's so devastating to feel like you're not enough, and it's so unnecessary because literally everybody is enough. That's our true nature, is perfect enoughness. And being able to bring that to the table, being able to not just acknowledge that, but really own that and embrace that, is such a, that is spiritual empowerment. That is what the practice should help us do, is remind ourselves that we're enough. And we're gonna have contact with all kinds of people, all kinds of different expressions and experiences of spiritual connection. And some of those will enhance our connection. Some of those may diminish or they might take us in the wrong direction. They might push us in a direction we don't want to go. But at the end of the day, this is one thing I also was kind of realizing. At the end of the day, I'm so grateful for what I felt yesterday, because it was like I woke up this morning and it wasn't actually this morning. It wasn't quite this morning. I woke up and I was doing my morning routine. I did my yoga stretching practice, and then I was sitting in meditation, and the kids came in. My daughter came in, and she had her two little cousins who flew into town last night. And they all ran in, and we just started playing. We just started being silly, being happy with each other, just laughing and enjoying, and nothing like childhood joy to give us a sense that that happiness is our natural state, that joy is our natural state. And I think that really lifted me, and then before I knew it, I was making the connections. I was like having conversations. I had a work call or two, one, I guess, but ran the gamut of well, I kind of had two. I worked on a creative project, and then I worked on an upcoming event. And all that experience reminded me, oh, what are you on about with this not enoughness? What is this about? Because I didn't feel that anymore. I suddenly felt energized. and like I was moving, like I'm running. So I was given this gift of juxtaposing the feeling I had yesterday, which I shared some of that on my post, shared it more deeply than I did, than I kind of recapped today. So if you're interested, you can check that out. But really, I think the lesson is whenever we feel like we're not enough, whenever we feel that, we want to take a really close look. We want to take a really close look at what's going on in us that's giving us that feeling, and just have a deep faith that that is not true. Have a deep faith that the opposite is true, and that we don't have to do anything to be enough. We start by being enough, and everything follows from there. And we can improve, we can practice, we can make mistakes. This is the odd sort of paradox of spiritual practice, is that we are already perfect and we're striving for perfection. That feels like a contradiction. It sounds like a contradiction when you say it. It's actually not a contradiction. And I think that's why we can get stuck. I think that's why we can get lost and sort of think, oh, something's wrong with me. I need to practice harder. I need to work harder. I need to be different. I need to just be different in this way. There's this way in which I am defective. I need to fix that, and then I'll be okay. It's an illusion. For whatever reason, I got plunged into a kind of sense of that, and then very quickly recognized it, and I felt like it was giving me a map. It was giving me a little survey course, like, look what can happen, and look how you can, get out of it, but also maybe stop it from happening, prevent it. It's not necessary to go there. So there's more on this, because there's also an aspect of this that has to do with carrying a burden that I think I've been embracing and allowing myself to explore recently. But I don't want to get into it now. It's still fresh. It's still working within me. So I'm going to kind of wait till I can express it more fully. But thank you for watching. That's where I am today, being enough. Appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.